Welcome to Small Business Celebration. We're continuing our series in small business sustainability. And our guest this week, well, he is well born in commerce. This is Small Business Celebration. Welcome, where we're celebrating small businesses for big breakthroughs. Welcome to Small Business Celebration, and our guest this week is Zeb Welborn, the President of Welborn Media and President of the Chino Valley Chamber of Commerce. Welcome to Small Business Celebration.
Well, thank you. I'm very excited to be chatting to you about our business today.
For visionaries who don't know who are you, and what is it that you do?
So my name is Zeb Welborn. I'm President of Welborn Media. We do online marketing for passionate business owners. I'm also President for the Chino Valley Chamber of Commerce, where we help local businesses.
For visionaries who aren't familiar with what Welborn Media is, you help with social media for ambitious business owners. What is that?
I guess I love working with passionate business owners to help them grow and expand their business. So we handle their social media, meaning we do their social media for them to promote their business out into the world.
What kinds of social media platforms do you specialize?
So we started out with like the normal ones, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter. There's been some that have been added over the years. So TikTok is some, Instagram is, we do a lot of Instagram posting now. So it's really what the target market of the businesses that we're working with is and helping them use the social media platforms that make the most sense for them.
How do you define what platforms are going to work for them?
It's based on their target market.
Okay.
So we work with a business. I'll do a consulting session where we'll chat about their business and what's the low-hanging fruit. What's the thing that maybe you're not doing that you could take advantage of? And those are the things that we try to implement for our businesses so that they are taking care of those things so they can grow their business and not worry about their social media presence. Social media is a very it's a viral platform. The things that do well on there are things that are unique and have some kind of novelty to them. So we are a little selective in the businesses that we work with because we want to make sure that it's successful. But there are also different objectives for businesses. So the main one that most businesses want is we want more sales. I want more people to hire us.
Who doesn't, right?
Exactly. But there are a lot of businesses who understand that it's important for the long game to build relationships and to foster those relationships through social media. And so those businesses often tend to do well on social media as well.
One of the things that I've heard from a lot of business owners about social media companies, and one of the challenges that they have, is that the social media company doesn't necessarily take the time to come to their business, to take pictures of their business when their business is in action. Is that something that you do?
Yes, we do. And so what we do, what I would say is we work very closely with the businesses that we put plans in place for. So some of them don't want that. A lot of them do, but not all of them do. Because they think that they don't have anything to showcase. And even if it's like a small apartment, like just in the setup for this presentation, you got a chance to look around our office, see the little knickknacks that we have around the office, and those are things of interest that would be of interest to people who don't get a chance to visit the area. So those are things that I would encourage businesses to do, but not all of them want to do it. So yes, we do go in there and take pictures, but oftentimes businesses want to portray themselves not with their knickknacks, they just have a different vision. So we kind of work with the owners of the business to enhance their vision that they have for marketing their business through social media.
You make it personable.
We try to, yes.
One of the other things that you also do is you do public speaking.
I do, yes.
How does that tie into Welborn Media?
So when I started social media, this is 10 years ago. It's funny because everybody says this that gets involved with social media. I just was not a social media fan before getting involved in doing social media. But once you realize the impact and the influence that social media can have and does have, it's kind of a no-brainer to get involved in. So when I started 10 years ago, I was still one of the newcomers to this. So I started educating our business community about that. And interestingly enough, when I joined this 10 years ago, my very first speaking engagement was right there, where I spoke about using Facebook to grow your business. And that was about 10, 12 years ago.
How did you get involved with the chamber? Because so many business owners either look at a chamber as a time vampire or as a one-way transaction kind of thing, but your experience was very different as a business owner here with the Chino Valley Chamber.
Yeah, I think it's like my mindset more so than anything else. When I looked at, the reason why I joined the chamber was because when I started my business, I knew nothing about business, and I needed mentors. I needed people that knew business locally. I could seek out for advice. And so I figured there's got to be some kind of business organization in my local community that I could turn to where they have like real world people who have done this that would be willing to mentor me or give me some advice, or that I could just learn from by being close to. So that's why I sought that out. And the only thing that I found locally that fit the bill for that was the Chamber of Commerce.
So you walked in through the door at the first chamber meeting and said, I have arrived, I'm here, mentor me.
Something like that. Not quite. But I'll tell you the first time that I did, so the first meeting that I went to, there was an invitation to go to a mixer. It was an evening mixer at Chino Hills Ford, which is just down the street. Right. And I showed up there. Not only was I new to business, but I was also not new to networking. So I was not outgoing and would go up and introduce myself to folks. So I kind of went into that event. I entered and they were kind of like doing some activity or something. So I kind of sat on the side for about 20 minutes. Nobody acknowledged me, and then I just left. So my first experience was I didn't talk to a single person, and I went in there and then I just left.
And you had exactly the success you were looking for, which is you hid in the dark corner of the room and talked to nobody, and so you got nothing out of it.
That's exactly right. So I learned from that experience. I tried it again. I'm not sure how long after. It was probably just a couple of weeks after, but I did come to a Wednesday morning here, and that experience was a lot different. I had a lot of friendly business owners that welcomed me, that introduced me, and the thing that I remember most about that first visit was how excited these business owners were to talk about their business. Right. And that's something that is infectious. That's something that I like being around. I like being around other people who are excited about the work that they're doing. And that's very easy for me to get connected with people who love what they do.
And then they suckered you in.
They did, yes.
How did they approach you to becoming head of the chamber?
So I wasn't just involved as a member for a year. And then like you get involved, like people will pick up on things and ask you to get involved in things. And at the time, like I said, I didn't really have much. I just started my business. I'm trying to grow it. I don't know any other way because I have people that are saying, hey, you should come to this. Hey, you should come to this. Right. So I started doing that. And then ultimately you pick and choose the things that you start going to. And then ultimately they start to identify you for things that are of higher importance, I would say, or higher priority for the community or the organization. So in 2012, actually they asked me to help out with social media. So
well, you are a social media company, so you'll do it for free, right?
That's exactly what happened, and I'm like, all right, this is my volunteer thing. So yes, I did do it for free, and I did it for free for a while. But they didn't name me 2012 Business of the Year, right? So that was 2 years in a business, and my city named our business, Welborn Media, the Business of the Year for the city of Chino Hills, I want to say.
Congratulations!
Yeah, no, so it was very cool, and I remember in that moment thinking like, I had made it, you know?
Right, sure, I have arrived.
Oh yeah, and it was like all of that, but it was very rewarding because it was like there's all this uncertainty that happens as a business owner, and so for people in your community to kind of validate that you're doing the right stuff was a very cool experience for me. And then shortly after that, they asked me to be on the board of directors, so I got on the board, which is all volunteer position. Right. And then there was some changeover at the top. The executive director they had let go, and they asked me to take it over. And actually I'd done that about 2 years before. I did it temporarily. We found somebody, that person didn't work out, and then I did it temporarily again.
He says with big air quotes.
That's right. And then eventually I said yes after they asked me a bunch of times, and I'm really glad I did.
If visionaries want to learn more about the Chino Valley Chamber of Commerce and Welborn Media, how do they do that?
There is two different ways. So Welborn Media, you can find me. Zeb Welborn is probably the best place to look.
And how do you spell Zeb Welborn?
So it's Z-E-B, like the first three letters of zebra.
Right.
And then Welborn is W-E-L-B-O-R-N.
No E.
No E.
And how do people reach out to you? Phone number, address, website, social media, smoke signals?
Yeah, so wellbornmedia.com is our website. Okay. At Zeb Welborn is on all the social media channels. We do have social media for Welborn Media, but most of that comes through me.
Right.
So I'd encourage you to check out my stuff. And then their websites, we have emails that get sent out trying to educate our members on how to do better on social media. And there's lots of other things we do to help support local businesses.
When we come back, we're going to talk about increasing your visibility for sustaining your business. And who better to talk about that than Zeb Welborn with Welborn Media. And if you enjoy Small Business Celebration, go ahead and like, subscribe, and notify, and we'll talk about visibility for your business when we come right back. The winter season is rapidly approaching, but are the tires on your car or truck ready for wet weather? Bakersfield's best tire store, Cleroux Tire, has been serving families like yours for 80 years and installs and services the tires your family depends on when the wet weather comes. Give Cleroux Tire a call at 661-324-6069 and ask them about what tire works best for you and your budget. Call Cleroux Tire at 661-324-6069 or visit them at 530 East 21st Street in Bakersfield or at ClerouxTire.com today. The wet winter weather is rapidly approaching. Call Cleroux Tire at 661-324-6069 today. I'm here with Zeb Welborn, the president of Welborn Media and the Chino Valley Chamber of Commerce. And our visioner question comes from Jasmine, who asks, my business coach is encouraging me to get out and start speaking to increase the visibility of our business. What is the process you took to grow your visibility, and with whom did you start speaking in front of first?
So I mentioned this in that last segment, but I did start speaking with the Chino Valley Chamber of Commerce.
Right.
So that was actually something that I felt was a deficiency of mine growing up. I had an extreme fear of public speaking.
Right.
And actually, when I started my tutoring business, they invited me to come in and speak to the Booster Club. It was a basketball booster club.
Sure, right.
And I went in there and I was going to pitch them on my tutoring services, and my wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, came with me. I presented, and I kid you not, I stood there for about 60 seconds, not saying a word because I was trying to think of what I was supposed to say.
Right.
It was the most humbling experience, but they still did sign up with me, so that was still a valuable lesson that just by putting myself out there, I did end up getting the business, even though I totally bombed that presentation. But I did start speaking with the Chino Valley Chamber of Commerce on social media. So going to your Chamber of Commerce, finding out where people give business-related presentations, being able to speak to a group full of businesses is great. And I know that we do one once every week here at the Chino Valley Chamber of Commerce. But there's tons of opportunities. Even doing like live, social media-wise, you can do live videos, and that simulates speaking in front of an audience. So there's lots of things you can do.
You could even do something really crazy. You could even start a YouTube channel.
There you go. There you go. You got it all figured out.
Or a podcast or something along those lines.
Yeah.
It's one thing to take the speaking engagement and directly get business from it. It's something else to take your business to the next level with speaking engagements. How have you been able to do that with Welborn Media and with the Chino Valley Chamber?
When I started speaking at the Chamber, I was speaking on social media. And at the time, because here locally, there wasn't many people speaking on social media.
Right.
But a lot of businesses wanted to know, like, how do I use Facebook? Because that was something that was happening at the time for their business. Remind you, this is 10 years ago when I started doing this.
Right.
So as I started speaking with those, I would get invited to speak with other groups.
Right.
And one of the groups that hit me up was San Bernardino County Workforce Development Board. Actually, it was the Small Business Development Center asked me to speak. So I spoke for them for free for about a year, and I did all of their social media workshops. San Bernardino County Workforce Development then picked me up, and they paid me to speak at their presentations. So there I was speaking in front of business owners as well. So probably over the course of the 3 or 4 years that I was doing that really extensively, I would be speaking to hundreds, probably about 1,000 business owners in total.
Right.
And that really helped get me in front of those businesses. And it also opened up more opportunities that I probably didn't anticipate. Like when I got that contract with the county to speak with the county, there was another contract that was having me do their social media campaigns or being like a business consultant for other businesses. Right. So as a result, I got that contract too, which is something I would have never explored otherwise.
As president of the Chino Valley Chamber, you are asked to speak on behalf of the chamber. What are some of the things that your progression and your improved abilities to speak has afforded you as head of the chamber?
So I still say that's an area that I could stand to improve a lot. I think we all could. I speak a lot in front of the Chamber of Commerce, and one of the feedback that I get is I could probably be a little more dynamic when I'm giving presentations. So it's something that I constantly try to work on. I think one of the things that I do know about whenever I do get in front of people, they know that there's a genuineness that happens there.
Right.
And so I know
it's not just some prepared canned speech that you come up with. It's really you.
Sometimes it's canned speeches for those events that warrant it, but that's like a portion of it. But there's always the element where you throw in your own personality and what you're trying to articulate and the stuff that you're trying to do. So those are the moments where I know that relays themselves well to the people that are invested and interested in what we're doing.
So I have to ask, because you haven't told us how you started your business.
It was out of necessity. I was a high school history teacher.
Okay.
I taught high school history for 4 years.
Okay.
I was married. I got married fairly young.
Right.
And I got divorced around the same time I left my teaching job.
Okay.
And so I just left it thinking that I wanted to do something else. And one of the main reasons was I thought that was one of the main reasons why I felt like my marriage failed was because of how much time I put into the teaching side of things. So I left teaching and I traveled the country trying to find a job somewhere.
Right.
And this was in 2007, and I didn't know when I did that 2007 was going to be 2007. So I couldn't find a job anywhere. I traveled the country for 3 months, couldn't find a job. I moved back home with my parents, and the only thing that I could find to make any kind of income was a one-on-one tutoring assignment with a student.
Oh.
So I started tutoring that one student in a one-on-one capacity, and then I was just like, well, maybe I could turn this into a business. So my sister was learning how to build websites at the time, and I started to learn how to use, I want to get on top of Google. My thought was, if I could get on top of Google, somebody types in tutoring in Chino Hills, and my business showed up, that's how I would get customers. So I tried to figure out how to do that. So I did. We built the website. We did a lot of social media. It was a lot of work, though.
Right.
A lot of email marketing. And so when I was doing all of that, a couple of the kids that I was tutoring, their parents were business owners. And one of them in particular said, Zeb, I love what you're doing with all of this marketing stuff. Would you mind doing that for my business? So I started doing it with that business, and then I sent out an email, and she paid fairly well. So I sent out an email to all of my contacts and just said, hey, I'm starting this new venture, doing online marketing. Would you be interested in letting me pitch you on it? You know?
Right.
And so I did. I got like 3 or 4 businesses that signed up right away. It paid way more than what I was making running the tutoring business.
Right.
So I hired somebody to run the tutoring business, and I took over the online marketing business full time.
You just unpacked a whole bunch of stuff,
okay.
and I could talk for hours on this, but you went through and you were a history teacher, good, safe, steady, secure job.
Yeah.
Got divorced, and you started going out on a limb and trying something new, and made it work. Just didn't hope it worked, you made it work. How has this affected your business today and the way that you approach your business in the chamber?
It was it was without strategy, you know, so there wasn't a plan behind this. Like I mentioned, it was out of necessity. And so I started that tutoring business, and then I've grown it into the online marketing business. And so what I would say is how that impacted me in the future is, this is what I think I mentioned to you previously, was being a high school history teacher, I felt a little bit unclear what my future was. Because my whole life I had been trained to go to college, get married, get a car, get a house, and that's kind of what I was supposed to do. And then I got all of those things relatively young, at 25 or 26, you know. And then it's like, well, what do I do now? And it's not like I noticed that I was uncertain about my future. But looking back on it, it was like there wasn't anything for me to strive towards. It was like that was going to be my career and what I wanted to do. And So that's what, when I shifted into running a business, now it's all focused on growth. There's never an outcome that I'm like, that's what I get and then I'm done. There's always something that I can do that will help expand and grow my business or the organizations that I'm involved with. And so I know that for me personally, I feel much more fulfilled when I'm having that opportunity to continue to grow versus hitting some plateau and then not knowing what to do next.
And you've taken this life lesson and you got special recognition for helping the Chamber during COVID.
Yeah, so over the years, we've been lucky enough to get some kind of like recognition from the people that we work with. So in 2020, COVID, right. 2020, so I think it's because of my background in doing digital marketing that when COVID happened, we did not miss a beat. Everything was told to shut down. All events were told to shut down. We jumped on Zoom right away. We vastly expanded our kind of email correspondence to make sure that all the businesses in this very uncertain time knew the resources they had available. We brought in leaders from across the legislative leaders, but also business leaders to talk about what was actually happening and the resources that were available for businesses, to give a kind of behind the scenes account of what was happening with COVID, especially in those first couple of months where everything was so unclear and uncertain. And so because of that work we did for businesses in that time, I was named the Outstanding Citizen of the Year for the Chino Valley, and that was something that I was very proud of.
When we come back, we're going to talk about one of the things that drew Zeb to the Chamber in the first place. In order to grow his business, he needed a mentor. We're here in the Chino Valley Chamber of Commerce talking to Zeb Welborn of Welborn Media because of the contributions from visionaries just like you through our Patreon page, our small business celebration on Patreon. And it's because of the financial contributions and the support from visionaries just like you that help us grow and bring valuable content and inspiring stories to visionaries like you so we can help business owners like you have big breakthroughs. I'm here with Zeb Welborn, the president of Welborn Media and the president of the Chino Valley Chamber of Commerce. And our visionary question comes from Dustin, who asks, I'm approaching someone to be my mentor to help me grow my business, but I don't want to come across like I'm only there for the taking. What have you offered your mentors so they don't think you're taking advantage of them and their knowledge?
Yeah, no, that's an interesting question. And I'll just share with you my experience of talking with mentors. Okay. One of the goals I set for myself about 2 or 3 years ago was I wanted to identify like 5 mentors that could help me out in different components of the things that make up what I do. Right. So I did ask all 5 of them, and all 5 of them agreed to be my mentor. And one of the things that I feel like there are people that get approached to be mentors
all the time.
All the time.
Right.
Yes. And so for them, there are things that you want to be able to give back to them. But there's a whole other component of mentors that the value that they're giving them is somebody that's excited, passionate, interested in what they are and who they are. Right. And so there are a lot of people who are willing to give you their time, but I also understand that it depends on who you're going after for your mentor. And if you want somebody who is in high demand for mentorship, right. You want to make sure that you're giving them what they need. And the best way to do that, in my opinion, would be asking them. So say, hey, I'm interested in mentorship. This is something that's really important for me to grow. Right. I would love to have you as a mentor, and I want to be curious to know what it would take for you to mentor me. Might be a good approach to take.
You bring up something very important on all this. You can't be afraid to ask.
Right.
What did you say to your mentors, and what were you able to reciprocate for them?
Yeah, well, let me tell you an interesting story about that. So you know that I did a podcast. It was called the Defining Success Podcast. Right. It's still on iTunes. I did about 120 episodes.
All right, congratulations.
Thank you. So we were at the top of iTunes for a long time. So it was really cool when that those first 90 days when it was up there. And it still had a good following for the time that I was doing it. But one of the things that I learned in that experience was it never hurts to ask. So I remember when there would be gaps in my interviews, I would Twitter people, and I would hit them up on Twitter, And I would say, hey, I have an opening at 11 o'clock. Would you be open to fill that spot? So honestly, I did like Oprah or Stephen Colbert, or like people that you would never imagine getting on the thing. And so you would think that would be, there's some kind of apprehension there, like, oh, of course they're too busy. But what does it hurt to just send them a Twitter? So the interesting story with that was one of the guys that I read his book, and actually I think his book is, actually it is right here. So his book called The New Rules of Marketing and PR. Okay. His name was David Meerman Scott. Okay. So I emailed him. He's like a world-renowned speaker. Everybody tries to get him on his stuff. And so I hit him up for one of those things. I said, hey, I'm doing a podcast interview in an hour. Would you like to be on it? And he said, you know what, Zeb? My schedule is booked solid for the next 3 months, but I have this gap at 11 and it just works out. So sure, let's do it. So I hit him up and I interviewed him on that podcast. And that was just kind of an eye-opening thing where you never know. You ask, they can say, all they'll do is say, no, sorry, that doesn't work for me, or no, I'm too busy. Don't take it personal. They're just too busy. So that was my experience of asking for the advice, and then how that happens, you know. Who knows? They might even say yes. That's right. What do you like to do for fun when you're not here at the chamber? So I do play a lot of golf. Okay. I do play a lot of soccer. So soccer is the thing that I love to do the most, and I play that on Sundays. Every Sunday I play an adult men's league, so I do play soccer. I do still work in the golf industry, but I also like to go out and play golf. I do just love kind of like competing, playing sports, hanging out with my family. What have you learned from playing soccer that you apply to your business? So soccer is like a team game, you know, where everybody has their own unique skills and you kind of come together to make a team. So I was actually in 1999, or maybe 2000, I was on the national championship, it's AYSO national championship soccer team. Sure. And so we have people on that team, on our team. We're just like a very diverse group of people. So there are people from all different backgrounds, but we all played together and we all did extremely well, and we all had our own unique skill sets, and it was just a very fun thing to be a part of. Right. And so when you take that into like building a team and being a part of a team, those are the things that I've taken from my experience playing soccer. You've got an employee for your business, the one that you and your sister run, Welborn Media. How has the hiring of this employee that you have now different than when you've hired employees in the past? I think over time I've learned that, you know, like when you're growing your business, and you mentioned Welborn Media, but we've also grown the Chamber. So when I started the Chamber, we had 3 part-time employees. We now have 8 here. Congratulations. Thank you. In Welborn Media, we've added 1 new employee. So she's finished a full year. She just had her 1-year anniversary with us. But before that, I did obviously do some hirings. In the tutoring business, I did a lot of hirings. And I think the challenge that I always had with those hirings was that I didn't know what to expect. And I didn't know how to unveil my expectations onto them. Okay, right. So I had some folks where they were very opinionated about what they wanted to do, and I kind of wanted to let them do what they wanted to do, but it ultimately hurt the business in some of those cases. Right. And so I feel like I've learned a little bit better about how to share the vision of what we're trying to accomplish with our company. Right. It's still a work in progress, though. I'm by no means perfect. Right. Today I had lots of lengthy talks with our staff members today who were feeling overwhelmed at some of the stuff that they were doing. So it's still a process, but I feel like there's a lot more structure in place that I've helped provide. Right. More of a process in terms of their expectations and the stuff that they need to do. Well, give us very briefly an example of that. So one of the things that I set up, I read a book once called Measure What Matters. So it's the guys at Google. They put together, it's called Objectives and Key Results. There's an objective and then there are key results that I want you to accomplish. Ultimately, what I want from any team that I'm working with, like I want them to be able to explore the stuff that they're excited about that's going to help advance the interests of the chamber. Right. But so I guess what I have them do is I have them set their own goals based on their job responsibilities, those objectives. Right. And then we identify what are the key results to determine whether or not those objectives are being successful. Right. And then those are the things that I have them work on. How have you applied this to your employee at Welborn? In the same fashion. So
Okay.
she has the objectives and key results of us as an organization, and then she's kind of identifying the things that she wants to fill the gaps in and sets those as her own objectives and key results. And those are the things that I work on her with, holding her accountable with, that we check in on.
What makes you wake up every morning and open your business?
So I don't know if I heard it in a training once or something, but it was like the 5 rocks or your 5 pillars. There are 5 things that I've kind of identified as things that are important to me, that I want to unveil on the world, and that if I know that I'm involved in those 5 things, I'm going to live a fulfilled life.
And they are?
My family.
Okay.
It is helping passionate business owners become successful.
Perfect for the Chamber.
It is for the Chamber and for Welborn Media.
Okay.
I love educating, but I also love learning, so making sure that I'm doing some kind of education and learning myself. It's doing activities like playing soccer and golf, and then the last one is being of service, and I do that through the Chino Rotary Club and give back to our community.
How long have you been a Rotarian?
So that's...
Put you on the spot.
2014, 2015, somewhere around there.
Well, Zeb, this has been a real privilege. Thank you for joining us here on Small Business Celebration.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure chatting with you, and I appreciate what you're doing.
Thank you. And if visionaries want to get in touch with you, how do they do that?
So like I said, I'm easy to find. It's Zeb Welborn or at Zeb Welborn on any of those social media channels.
And I'll be right back with my final thought. The winter season is rapidly approaching, but are the tires on your car or truck ready for wet weather? Bakersfield's best tire store, Cleroux Tire, has been serving families like yours for 80 years and installs and services the tires your family depends on when the wet weather comes. Give Cleroux Tire a call at 661-324-6069 and ask them about what tire works best for you and your budget. Call Cleroux Tire at 661-324-6069 or visit them at 530 East 21st Street in Bakersfield or at ClerouxTire.com today. The wet winter weather is rapidly approaching. Call Cleroux Tire at 661-324-6069 today. Something worth thinking about. About a week and a half or so ago, I was having coffee with a business owner who declared to me that the reason why business owners go into business is to make money. And I agreed with him, but I asked, then what? Why does a business owner stay in business? Well, this particular gentleman was very adamant on the subject. He says business owners stay in business to make money. And to a certain extent, I agree. After all, a business that's not profitable doesn't stay in business for very long. But one of the things I've noticed over the 200+ episodes of Small Business Celebration is the motivating factor that keeps a business owner engaged varies from owner to owner. For example, like our guest this week, Zeb Welborn. For him, he started his business out of desperation. And then it evolved and it changed, and he hired an employee and started to develop and grow, got involved with the chamber, and eventually became president of the Chino Valley Chamber of Commerce. And the success that the chamber had during COVID was because of his experience that he had as a business owner starting his own business. But with him, like a lot of other business owners, what's important to him has evolved. What's important has changed. How he approaches the employee for his business now is very different than how he first approached his employees when he first started the business. Which begs the question, as your business has grown, as your business has developed, what's changed? How have you changed? It's something worth thinking about. I hope you enjoyed our conversation this week with Zeb Welborn of Welborn Media and the Chino Valley Chamber of Commerce, and I hope you learned something that you can use today to grow a strong and profitable business. And we'll see you here again as we celebrate another small business celebrating a big breakthrough. By the way, why did the computer have a hard time getting to work?
I don't know.
Because they had a hard drive.
Mm-hmm. Perfect.
But I'm pumped, right? Welcome to Small Business Celebration, and our guest this week is Zeb Welborn.